Hey, hello, welcome to the show. It's me, John Park, having technical difficulties as usual. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for stopping by over in our chats. We have a YouTube chat up, including Beatograph Abdelhagen and Connor McCarter 9581. Thanks for joining. And our Discord chat is over at adafruit.it/Discord. You can head to the live broadcast chat channel. That's where people are hanging out. Hello to C. Grover and Thin Man and Blitz City DIY and Jim Hendrickson. Thank you for popping into the chat. So I've got a cool new product pick for you today. First time this one's been on the show. And if you want to get a jump start, head on over to that QR code, that URL right there. That'll take you to it. This show is broadcast from within the product page, so you won't miss anything. And I believe we have 50% off on the price. We have 90 of them in stock. And you can go there, throw them in your cart, get them before the show is over. There's no coupon code necessary. It's just priced to sell. And there are no rain checks or back orders or anything like that. So get it before they're gone. So what I like to do Todd mentions the CRTs are multiplying. They really are. What I like to do at this point in the show is jump back to the new segment from Ask an Engineer, where Limor first introduced this. So please take it away, Lady Ada.
If you have a microbit, we've carried the microbit for a while, you've noticed that it doesn't have headers that plug into a breadboard. So we wanted to make something like the cobbler that we did for the Raspberry Pi that allowed you to use it with the breadboard. And the T-cobbler is like kind of the design we started with, but we made a couple of improvements to it to make it even better. So this is the microbit that you may know and remember, and it has this edge connector. And the edge connector also has these large pads you can use an alligator clip with, but there's all these little pads in between that you can't alligator clip to. So that's where having a really nice breakout is useful. So this breakout has an edge connector in it, you can see, and when you plug this in, it only fits one way. You can use the buttons and the LEDs and stuff. And I can, program and power it. And over here, you get to see all the different GPIO. And we break out every pin available. Some pins are shared with the matrix, and they have a little square, which you might be able to see. Some have analog capability, and they have a little triangle next to them. And some are shared with the buttons. That's A and B. We also give you all the power pins. So you get maybe 10 pins more than you would if you just use the alligator clips. And also it gives you access to the I2C pins, which you don't really get. There's I2C pins that are available that you don't really get on the P1, P0, 1, 2, and 3. You can also do stuff like anytime you need 4 GPIO because you want to do SPI, or you want more analog pins. There's more analog pins available. We also added a little corner over here, and it plugs right into the rails of the breadboard. We only do it on one side because depending on whether you have a half-size or full-size breadboard, it does have slightly different spacings. This way it works on both. And that way you can get your power rails, your plus and minus, also wired up without having to do any work. So it's a little bit wider, but we also already had this width from the connector, so we're like, well, why not? Let's just make it wide and easy to use. You can see here, it's a simple program that's just lighting up the LEDs. You can program the microbit still in CircuitPython, MakeCode, or Arduino using our guide. This just breaks out the pin. It doesn't make any level shifting or changes. It just makes it easier to use it in a breadboard. So I think it's very handy. Especially if you also want to have a sturdier design. I think alligator clips, they slip a lot. And then there's a dragon on the back.
Yeah.
Thanks to Phil B. So that's the DragonTail. It's a new product from Adafruit.
Yeah, that's right. That right there is the product pick of the week this week. It is the DragonTail for Microbit and Clue. So this is a breakout, and I love it because it looks like a video game cartridge connector. Once you pop in your Microbit or your Clue into there, very Game Boy, very cartridge. You can see here the beautiful silk screen on the back that Lady Ada was talking about, and there are these 0.1 inch spaced male header pins to plug into your breadboard, and these two little extras over here. In fact, let me bring up these images. Two little extras off to the side where you can connect up to the power rail on your breadboard, which is great. So let's do a couple things. First of all, let's take a look at the product page here. You can see it's at ID 3695. We have, let me bring in my live overlay here, 90 of them in stock, $4.48. These are fantastic because you can use them with microbit, which is really popular in classroom settings, or if you want to go a little more advanced, where you've got the OLED screen and a whole bunch more sensors and capabilities, you can go with the Clue. They're pin compatible with each other. They plug right into this, and then we break out all of that good stuff onto the breadboard there. So if you scroll down here and take a look, we have the product guide for Clue, the product guide, or rather the project guide for this Clue metal detector, which uses the DragonTail, and we have a project for this yoga pose chime, which I built a number of years ago with the DragonTail. So we don't have a guide for it itself because really all it's doing is breaking out pins on either the microbit or the Clue. So you can check out info on those. But if we take a look at this yoga pose chime and take a look at the assembly here, you can see we have a nice fritzing representation of that DragonTail there, and you can see all of these pins broken out onto the breadboard there. That's a nice illustration of it. And if I back out here, you can see I'm using this to trigger a MOSFET, which is driving a solenoid, and I have battery power coming in off on the side here. Here it is being put together. So the move this out of the way here. The demo I wanted to show you is, let's go to this big view actually first, right here. So there's my spares off to the side. Here I went for this sort of vertical orientation on a full-size breadboard, which gives you kind of a neat handheld if you're making something that's sort of game-like or remote or something like that. In the case of that metal detector project, you can get kind of a nice little handle using your breadboard here with the Clue or microbit plugged in at the top. In this case, I'm going to unplug my USB from that. I've got a little LiPo battery on there. And you can see here, I've got wires running off to a couple of switches, little push button switches. I have resistors and LEDs going to ground and a couple of pins on the microbit, or rather on the Clue. And then I have some potentiometers. So you can see here, if you look at these circles up on the top, I can turn those on and off so that the blue circle goes away when I press this, as well as I'm turning on a LED. And I can turn off that red circle in the middle. And then I can turn these potentiometers here to adjust the size of these circles. I was just using vector I/O so that it's a fairly responsive and fast draw here of these. And this is all running in CircuitPython. You can, of course, use, in the case of the microbit, you can use MakeCode. You can use Arduino or CircuitPython with that, as well as with the Clue. And I think microbit on the, rather MicroPython on the microbit, right? I think that's right. So this is kind of nice because normally, if you take a look at either of those boards, you're going to get either capacitive touch out of 3 of these pins, or you're going to hook alligator clips to them, but you're mostly going to ignore all those little teeths right there in the middle. Those are all pins that are broken out here. So if we take a look back at, sorry, let's go to product photos here again for a moment. We've got, let me expand this one. Okay, so you can see there on the left side there, that's going to the 3-volt and the ground on the side of the breadboard. And then down the middle there, we're breaking out a couple of grounds. So those are those 2 white silk screened pads that say minus. We have a 3-volt up at the top there. And then we have pads 0, 1, and 2. And those are the same as those big ones that are broken out on the microbit and the Clue. But then we have pins 4, 5, which has an A next to it. That's an analog input. The 6, 7, 8, 9 digital pins, 10, 11 going up this other row, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Actually, I'm sorry, the A on 5 and the B on 11, those that tell you that those are the pins for these A and B buttons on the Clue or on the microbit. So if we look back at my demo here, I actually told the code to also use these. These are separate pins. My code is just watching both of those for LED stuff, and you can see these are also doing double duty as LED stuff and graphics stuff there. So code here, there's not a lot to it. All you'll see is that I'm requesting various pins like A2 and A3 so that I can use those potentiometers, and the MOSI and A1 pins happen to be the pins that I chose for my buttons. That's not using any serial stuff there or SPI stuff. That's just a convenient pin there. And then onboard button A and onboard button B are being used. And then the digital outs, D9 and D10, again, those are just pins that you'll see me running these little resistors to here at the bottom over to these LEDs, so those can be used as digital outs. And the rest of this is just reading some potentiometer analog reads and scaling that, and printing some stuff to my REPL, as well as resizing these circles or hiding them. So it's pretty straightforward. Let's see, what else is there to say about it? Let me go back to DragonTail page here. And I also do want to feature this gorgeous silk screen that serves no purpose other than art, which I think is important. So let's go to this down cam here, and we can zoom in, and I'll focus in on that a little bit better. Look at that. Everything's better with dragons. Thanks, Phil B. You can see also we do have a couple of mounting holes here, so if you're using this in another application, you could also use this with a very small breadboard. You could use this with a perma-proto board. That would work really nicely. Just double check that your rails, your power rails, are actually plus and minus rather than minus and plus. Some boards swap those two rails there, so you do have to pay attention to that. All right, and let's see if there's anything else I needed to say about that. Yeah, fully assembled, no soldering required. So this right here, that's what you get. Again, great for classroom types of applications where you just want to add a little bit extra, a little bit more, a breadboard, this breakout, your clue or your microbit, and then maybe some buttons, switches, LEDs, resistors, that sort of thing. All right, let me double check the Discords here and chat if there's any questions. No, it looks like we're good. Okay, so don't forget, you can head right over there to that URL to go pick up a DragonTail or two, and don't forget, you'll probably want a microbit or a clue with that. And that is going to do it. So that right there is my product pick of the week this week. Let me plug this in dramatically. Boom. That right there is product pick of the week. It is the DragonTail for microbit and clue. For Adafruit Industries, I'm John Park. This has been JP's product pick of the week. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.